Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hi listeners, Producer Guy here. Just a little message before this podcast. This is a re-release from, I think it was last April when the Super League was a thing, but dipped into the archives and we thought it might be a good idea to re-release this one. Obviously the subject still holds, but looks like the Super League's becoming a thing again. Simon Brundish and Dan Rhodes had a good debate at the time, but we're just re-releasing this obviously on the new free side. Obviously if you're a pro subscriber you can go back and find that. It's from, to be exact, I think it's from last April if you want to look to find it on the plural plus side, to get my words out there. Thank you everyone. Enjoy the show. Let us know what you think.
Hello and welcome to a special edition Anfield Index Pro Plus to discuss the breaking news about the formation of a European Super League that happened last night. Now, me and you, Si, to discuss it. We are, it seems, on opposite ends of the spectrum. Do you want to give me a little bit of detail about what actually happened?
Well, I think it's a stretch to say we're on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but we probably do have slightly differing views. I care way less than most people. I think it's kind of funny. So theoretically, is it right that there's going to be 15? Currently there are 12 clubs, none from France or Germany. So the big six in England, same big six, we include Spurs and Arsenal in that. and then the traditional power from Italy with Inter, Juve, Milan. Is that it? Is anybody else? Roma in there? No. And then we've got the three big Spanish giants too.
Yeah. And the third one is Atletico Madrid, obviously, just in case anyone didn't know. They want to have 15 founding members, don't they?
Yeah. I imagine that there are a couple on the precipice waiting to see what the reaction was going to be.
Your PSG or your Bayern, or it seems like Bayern and Dortmund are together in opposing it. And PSG's owner is obviously massively influential in UEFA, so he seems today to have voted for the Champions League version. But who else? Who could the other three be?
Oh, it could be Roma, it could be Valencia, more Spanish teams. There could be some Porto and Benfica, maybe Celtic and Rangers. Who knows? Frankly, don't really care. Ajax. This is something that's been talked about. I don't know. Like I'm a bit older than you, but it's something that's been talked about for most of my adult life, for sure. Having a European Super League. And there have been three different guises from UEFA tried to cut off the coalescence of the Big Six and Big Ten teams from doing this by keep incentivizing them with more money and expanding what used to be the European Cup, which was probably fundamental to my love of football as a child. And they've converted it into this gubbins, which we celebrate when we win now, but is the exact thing that people are disputing and arguing about. It's a whole bunch of the same lads playing against each other all the time, soaking up all the money, dominating their leagues entirely because of the amount of money that they get as an advantage from being in the Champions League every single goddamn year. And that is predicated on the timing, particularly for clubs like Man United, who they made out like bandits with the skies acquisition, basically, of the Football League in 1992, when they did this exact thing and restructured the league to become the Premier League. At the time that Man United hadn't won anything and were just beginning to potentially rise, they had this sudden influx of cash, dominated at the exact right time, where all the money was going to the first team, who won the league, and they had for 5 or 6 years that advantage over everybody else, which allowed them to build the behemoth that they have become since. And we have that across Europe, and we can all stand on our Gary Neville high horses and pretend that we're moral and principled and guided by the fans. But everybody is made out like bandits since 1992. And the only people really complaining are the people that are on the outside.
I'm not quite sure it's the same, though, is it? It's not exactly the same, because the thing about the Premier League is whoever's in the Premier League at the time gets votes, but teams can go down, teams can fail. Man City failed, Leeds failed.
Teams can go down.
There is a consequence if you run your club badly. If there is a consequence if you employ a shit manager and buy shit players, your club could go out of business.
Is there really? So we have 2 examples of this. Well, we really have one example of this, Leeds. And there have been lots of checks and balances put in place since then, particularly FFP, which has since been shown to just be UEFA flashing their knickers at investors, because it was to equal a playing field, and it's never been an equal playing field as demonstrated by the ruling against City.
I know, but I think I accept all the points about how it's evolved and changed. And there was a great thread by Dan Kennett that he did in October 2020, actually. I've retweeted it, and he goes through the history about suggestions of the European Super League and how it's changed, and when they brought in seeds, and then they brought in 32 teams, and they brought in the group stage, and they brought in 2 group stages, and all the proposals that have come on. And this is just what it seems like the next stage. But this seems to be the first time where the clubs have got together and said, we're going. And not only are we going, the 15 of us who found this, we're not going anywhere ever again. There is no consequence to our failure.
Yeah. So if that is your one objection, I get it. But that's not the objection that's been thrown around.
That's my main objection.
It's all about greed and money, which is the thing I find the most hypocritical.
Of course, we've got owners of states. We've got oil-funded corruption from Russian money. There's no point in having the debate about whether greed is in football. That's how it is.
But is it greed, right?
But what this does is take away the last vestige of responsibility of sporting integrity, because there's no consequence then.
Does the NBA not have sporting integrity?
But it renders the Premier League non-existent for Liverpool. What difference does it make if we win it?
What difference does? Well, we won't, because we won't be in it.
Well, I think at the moment the suggestion is that they will be playing the domestic league games, and then they will be playing the Super League in midweek.
That would be ideal.
That's what they want to do.
But isn't that exactly what the Champions League's been for the last 20 years?
Yeah,
you win you take the money you make from the massive pot that you have from midweek games playing against the most high-profile companies and clubs in the world, and you fleece your domestic league with that advantage. Isn't that exactly what they've already been doing?
No, but the Premier League spreads the money out, doesn't it? It spreads the money out, and then you get a tiered system of based on your place. But it's not that much different compared to.
But is that fair? I think one of the arguments of the Super League is Super League clubs. Is that fair? How much is a percentage of earnings for Sheffield United is created because Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea exist?
Of course, but again, I think we're moving. It's the whole point about being a collective, isn't it, in the Premier League? And
is it?
Yes, because this share out the broadcasting money, and they don't give the top 6 clubs extra voting rights, which they wanted. It's got to
which is the reason the Super League exists.
It's got to pass. Yeah, it's got to pass by a majority of 14.
So they were held to account just this year. The top 6 teams, who the other clubs don't exist without, were voted down on a very, very objective, smart rulings that they wanted to have in place, which were going to help everybody. They were voted down because there are always going to be more shit clubs than big clubs in a 20-team league. And that's funny. So the small clubs voted against the 5 sub rule because of some weird logic that they'd created in their minds that there was going to be an advantage for the big teams, when that wasn't the case, and it didn't turn out to be the case at all. But they were voted down, which cost the big teams, cost every team in the league. But it's really important that your big teams get to thrive, because that's how you earn more money for the rest of the league. And that was ruined by the shittier teams voting against them. And it would annoy me if I was one of the big 6 power teams that I have to in some way bow down to Sheffield United or West Brom, who couldn't care less about winning. All they care about is being in the Premier League, so they get more money than the teams that they're going to get relegated into the league of, so they can do the exact same thing. It's all about fleecing the opposition. And your one argument against this promotion relegation thing is that the teams that had the advantage of being in the Champions League at the fortunate time, just luck of timing of success when the inauguration happened, they managed to run for years on that financial advantage. And that's exactly the same thing that's happened with the Championship teams or Division 2 teams from getting into Division 1 or the Premier League. That they happen to have such a massive financial advantage over everybody else.
I know, but I think we're moving off the point about the Super Leagues not having any kind of promotion relegation.
They do have that. 5 teams are going to go in and out.
No, yeah, but the 15 who are in there stay in there. Doesn't matter.
But the 15 already stay in their leagues whatsoever, because they're already every year they're in the Premier League.
They definitely don't. Arsenal have been shit, and they're not in the Champions League anymore because they're not good enough. And that's
Arsenal
how it should.
Arsenal are not close to relegation.
No, listen to what I'm saying. They've been relegated from the Champions League into the Europa League. That's the point, because they're not as good.
They haven't been relegated from the Premier League.
No, listen to what I'm saying. Once they get in this Super League, Arsenal could be absolutely awful, and it wouldn't matter. They stay in there.
But it doesn't matter, because they would still be, if all that happened was the Super League replaced the Champions League, right? The financial advantage that they already have and have already had for the last 25 years remains. They might be shit with the money that they have, but that advantage already exists and just continues. The 15 teams that are in the Super League are never getting relegated from their domestic league. So their domestic leagues competition, the clubs in their leagues can't whine about it.
No, but the point being that the Premier League would then, you don't get anything for winning it apart from the money and the title.
And the prestige.
But there's no games. But what about for the rest of the season? So for the rest of the season, there's nothing else to play for. No European football to qualify for. It makes our game tonight pointless because we're starting this in August. So
what you're saying is that by making a Super League, you're removing the Championship, the Champions League and Europa League qualifications.
Well, what I'm saying is there should be an ability for all teams across Europe who will run well to get into the elite competition if they deserve it.
Well, I don't think we know about the 5 teams. How are you going to get the extra 5 teams in?
We don't. And anyway, let's come on to part of it. Let's discuss the detail of it, because the idea is that you would have 2 groups of 10. You play each other home and away. The top 3 automatically qualify for the quarterfinals, and those who finish 4th and 5th compete for the 2 remaining quarterfinal places. And then it's knockout format, as we're in at the moment.
Sounds fun.
And I agree. I would like the Champions League as it is to be like that. That sounds like a really good system of organising a competition. You've got the cream, which is the 20 teams who deserve to be there, and they play each other twice, and you've got 8 quality. You're going to have quality games, and then there's still stuff to play for because you can come 4th or 5th and still get into the quarterfinals. The games will mean something, and I don't mind that. I wouldn't mind if, because they've come out with today, UEFA, and they've restructured the Champions League again into some kind of chess system, which I'm used to, which is how chess tournaments are organised, with the 32 teams and you're all in one league. It's just, that seems nonsense to me. So I'm not in favour of what UEFA are suggesting. I am in favour of the detail of this proposal. So I don't mind giving 400 million to each team that qualifies for it. My crux is that I want them to qualify for it. I want Liverpool to qualify for it, and that be an achievement. Under Hodgson, absolute garbage. Being 18th in the league meant something. This time, we wouldn't need to. We could just use the Premier League for once, if we're not going to win it in November, we could just use it to develop players. There wouldn't be any integrity on the games because we know we've got our elite squad playing in the elite Super League.
So what happened in 1984?
Go on.
What happened in football, in the Football League in 1984, where the only thing that happened was you won the league?
After they were banned?
What? No. Well, yeah, but no. I'm just talking about that football existed for 30 years without.
Yeah, and that's
the level of Champions League.
But that's the amazing achievement of those teams. Nottingham Forest came up, won the league, then won the European Cup, and then
this
won
stuff
it.
Doesn't happen. It never happens. But that's not my point. My point is, does it ruin the league if one team, so one of the great things about the Super League is that they share the money. So all of the teams in that league are going to be equitable. There is a level playing field, which we don't have now because FFP is bullshit, right? But what it does do is then those teams in that league, the big 6, will be impregnable. It will always be one of those teams that win the Premier League because their financial advantage will be so huge, right? But those 6 teams always win anyway.
Well, not technically always, do they?
Well, Leicester is one of the biggest aberrations in sports history.
Blackburn.
I don't think you can create rules around that one thing happening once.
Blackburn, Newcastle nearly won it.
Blackburn had the biggest financial advantage in history at that time.
Newcastle
didn't win it.
I know, but
they also had a massive financial advantage as well. They were the biggest spenders in the league as well for 3 years. So the money thing is the money thing. It's always been the money thing, apart from Leicester. Now what you're doing is creating a spread of that money amongst the top 6. So that top 6 will always then win the league, right? But my point was, you're saying that in November it would turn into something completely different because only one team would run away with the league. I don't think one team will have that advantage anymore. It'll be 6 teams constantly, right? But in 1984, you either won the league, which was the celebration, and then you got into the European Cup, or if you came second, you got into the UEFA Cup. That's it.
And then you won the cup and got into the Cup Winners' Cup.
Yeah, but that's it. But there weren't 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 qualifications to Europe. And people still played all of their games competitively right till the end of the season.
I'm not sure they did, but three teams qualified for Europe though, because they deserved to.
No, it completely depended. Year on year, it changed. There was only one team for qualifying for the UEFA Cup for 15 years.
No, that's what I'm saying. You got one in the European Cup, one in the UEFA, one in the Cup Winners' Cup.
Yeah, but that's not league, is it?
But it's still 3 places in Europe. It's how you hand them out. What I'm saying is they deserve to, and those teams that won the league deserve to get into Europe, and then they represented that country in the European competition.
But Man United exist how they exist now because of timing, not because they deserved it, because of the timing of Sky's takeover of the Football League and the restructuring. They happened to be good the year it became the Premier League when they qualified for Europe for the first time, and they got this massive influx of cash that nobody else got. Sometimes luck gets in the way for timing.
That's not just luck, though. They were also amazing in the commercial sense, and they took advantage of that, whereas Liverpool were in the dark ages.
Well, you've got to take advantage of your opportunities, but that opportunity was presented because of luck, because of timing.
I know, but the opportunity was presented to us as well, and we just absolutely...
No, it wasn't.
Half-assed it. Yeah, of course it was.
No, because we didn't win the league. We were banned from Europe at the time, and we didn't win the league for another 28 years. So by which stage, there were 5 teams in the European Cup.
When it was formed in 1992, we were one of the best teams in England.
But we didn't win the league.
What I'm saying is the opportunity was there for us to do it. We were just really badly run, so we didn't deserve to win it.
Timing, that they happened to be good the year that it happened is what I'm saying. They didn't. They made out because this thing happened. What could happen in this Super League is that Arsenal were shit. Is that Arsenal and Spurs, they will piss their money up in the wall because they always do, and they won't take advantage of it, so they won't win a Premier League title from that financial advantage they have over the other 14 teams. But it's the same.
Arsenal were quite badly run for a period, then brought in Wenger, who completely changed the whole setup.
They won the league 2 years before Wenger came in.
I know. Listen to what I'm saying, though. He changed how football was played. All about the strength and conditioning stuff. So he revolutionised it. Arsenal got the benefits of that. And because they were really well run, then they won things and got the benefits of that of qualifying for Europe. Whereas Newcastle or other teams had the opportunities but didn't quite take advantage of it, and then became even worse run, wasted money, got in rubbish managers, and fell down the league.
I understand.
Got relegated.
I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree, but I think we're making slightly different points. Man United happened to go through their peak spell as the Premier League, as the league became the Premier League. They would have done it probably if the league hadn't become the Premier League, and there would have been no massive advantage for hundreds of years since, because they wouldn't have created this financial behemoth. They did because the timing of them happened to be good in that year. The financial reward instantly for them set them apart. They gave them a big advantage over whoever finished second. Whoever you're talking about who had the opportunity, they never quite did because United already had such a massive advantage.
Accepted. So if this is going to happen, then it seems like they want to start in first. UEFA's statement last night says that they will be banned from playing in any other competition at domestic, European or world level, and their players could be denied the opportunity to represent their national teams. 1, do you agree with that? And 2, do you think it's going to happen?
I think it's hilarious.
It makes sense.
It's hilarious. As if they're ever going to do it. As if. It's just like saying, right now, I'm not going to breathe. I hate you. Oxygen's been shit to me. So I'm not going to breathe.
So 1, you don't think they're going to enforce that? So
yeah, I don't think for a second they'll even attempt to enforce it.
So say we just start with 12 founding clubs in August, and and the founding clubs let in 8 other qualifiers, say, if they can get them to come in and play. Do you think next season, when this Super League starts, if it does, that Liverpool are playing in the Premier League as well?
I think Liverpool will be playing the Premier League next season no matter what.
So you don't think UEFA or the Premier League is going to enforce the suggested bans?
No, I don't think. If the top 6 get kicked out of the Premier League don't make any of their TV contracts.
Right. I tend to agree with that. There's a legality to it.
Champions League have absolutely no leverage by you removing all of their best teams.
So it seems like there's a bit of an impasse. Do you think it's a power play or an actual... Do you think it's going to happen? Let's get that down.
I think it's a huge power play. I think we're probably... I don't know. What do you reckon? I think we're now at a point where by them going this far, which has never happened before, something has changed in the power structure. And the Big 6 or the Big 12 are going to come out of this in 6 months' time with much more power than they've ever had.
Okay.
I think probably they're going to be board members of UEFA or something, which is the second most corrupt organisation on earth behind FIFA. Let's not get any sympathy for the Champions League owners right now.
No, I've no sympathy for UEFA, as we've seen with Platini and everything, and the FIFA with the World Cups. The corruption is rife. We're absolutely aware of that. What about then? Because Swiss Ramble did a good analysis, and he published that possibly one of the reasons is the clubs that are involved in this have got absolutely huge amounts of debt. Chelsea, Inter, Barca, City, Juve, Milan, they've lost nearly 150 million on average this season. Do you think that's a huge factor in it?
Obviously, the top six are always going to have the most debt because they've got the biggest wage bill. So once you take out their half of their income, they're the ones that are going to have the biggest fixed costs. So, I meant loss, not debt. That was a loss on the total. I agree. Yeah, so they've got the biggest fixed cost, so their losses are going to be higher than everybody else's. So this makes total sense. So then they go, why are we treated like everybody else when our losses are so much greater and we've been underpinning their survival in the first place? I get it. I completely get it.
So at the moment you think it's a negotiating power play tactic rather than an actual concrete suggestion. What about? I think it's interesting. We haven't heard much yet. What about the players' side? What do you reckon they're thinking?
Don't care.
Do you really think they're not bothered about the name of it?
I don't think they care. I think going through literally, I was 18 when the Premier League started, knowing lots of the players. No one cared. People were actually excited by the prospect of the glamour of Premier League, and suddenly they went from 2 years before the Premier League started. John Barnes was the first £1,000 a week footballer, and then 2 years later, Alan Shearer's on 10 grand a week. That's what they care about.
Let's hypothetically say that the UEFA and Premier League do ban these teams. Then what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they put playing for the national teams above the money that they would make in the Super League? Do you think they'd all just stop playing for the national teams?
I think that's hilarious. You are much more principled than me in these things. What do you reckon?
No, I don't know what's going to happen. I've never thought that they would take it this far. It's always all the developments have always been done in conjunction with the organisations that organise the tournaments. You know, there's always been a governing body above it. For the 12 teams to actually go like they did with the Premier League, no, we're going to start as own. Although we're going to have relegation, this is us. We're taking control of this because I think it was done because the FA were absolutely incompetent at negotiating broadcast deals. They couldn't get any money. You know, they were getting like 20 grand for a game on a Sunday, big match or whatever it was. So they were incompetent. They were in the 70s, and something had to happen because obviously the demand was there, and we saw that with the growth of the Premier League and the growth of the broadcasting deals. But for them to have teams move away from that and actually put out a proposal, and then for UEFA to say you're going to be banned, it's just going to be a fun next few weeks. I haven't got a prediction. I think the most likely scenario is what you say. They'll probably amend again the Champions League structure and give them maybe more broadcasting, either control or share of the revenue, those 12 clubs.
So one big thing here, right, is that the way they're talked about from fans and from Gary Neville is that these clubs only care about money, right? And so that's predicated on the idea that the owner of the club is rinsing everybody for cash, when largely the owners of these clubs aren't rinsing anybody for cash at all. What they want is parity. I don't think we're having any of these conversations had the FFP worked. So what the big clubs want is if I run this club successfully, if I improve the commercial revenues to work on a world-class level, I will be able to compete on a world-class level without suddenly some oil country coming in and using it to basically increase the visibility of their country as a tourist location. And
Sports washing.
That's what a lot of the owners had been told when they were negotiating and buying these massive clubs. And I think what they're after is a seat on the board that creates this minimum share of equity, not so they can run off with the cash and create space programs and fly to Mars. It's so that they know they're on a fairly level playing field, playing Liverpool against Man United, against AC Milan, against Barcelona. And they aren't always at this massive disadvantage, having to leverage debt just so they can catch up with these motherfuckers that have oil cash.
So are we getting to a stage now where all it is about having 12 or 15 teams that are just going to get richer and richer, as we have been seeing? So it's not a case of keeping some kind of equitable distribution in the broadcasting deal. It's just a case of a free-for-all where these 12 or 15 get 3.5 billion is on the table for the first round, first year of it. And that's it. There's just going to be those teams. Is it so just 15 teams now?
So, right. What is the difference between what already exists from the Champions League anyway? The teams that regularly qualify for the Champions League always have this financial advantage, right? So just for a second, instead of talking about the qualification or non-qualification entry into the Champions League, it's largely the same teams. So they, over a period of time, have built up this equity, this advantage over the other teams. So it's a similar thing that we have right across the board already. And all we know in the future is that it's going to happen. So if for a second, I don't think this is going to happen, but if for a second we believe that the Super League is just going to take over from the Champions League and everything else remains, right? That's not what I think is going to happen. But if we just take that for a second as the argument, what's going to happen is that those 6 teams and maybe 1 or 2 more occasionally might get in on a fluke, like Leicester might suddenly become good and qualify, right? They will have this financial advantage, which they already do, and win the league, which raises the profile, because they're playing in the greatest competition on earth, of the Premier League from a TV rights perspective, which will probably be able to sustain the similar levels of TV rights funding that they currently have, which is currently shared throughout the Premier League. That's why Sheffield United exists, because of this revenue generated by Man United and Liverpool. Right? And that's only going to continue. The extra money they get is from playing in the Super League.
But I agree, but there has been there's been a few winners, and there has been a few more challenges for the Premier League title than there has been in, say, Spain, where the broadcasting deal was just basically for the top 2. And
the third team is top of the league.
Well, of course, and is more the exception than the rule. But what I'm saying is that is that what we want? We want more of that.
Currently, Man City win every year. Currently, Man City win every year.
Do they win every year?
Well, pretty much. They're the team either that's going to win, or
you just
they have the massive financial advantage. And this time there are going to be 6 even teams with a massive financial advantage. Is that better or worse than 1?
You just said Atletico top now. Well, we're the current holders of it, so they don't win it every year, do they? Say we also got 97 points, and Chelsea won it recently as well. And Leicester.
Chelsea are one of the top 16.
So Man City don't win it every season, and also we've had different challenges in terms of who's contending.
Not at the top 6, really, have we? Out of those top 6, who outside of the top 6 have ever challenged? We've got the one freak year of Leicester. In the last 20 years, who, not including in that top 6, have challenged? The last one was 2001 Leeds.
Yeah, Leicester did, but it's still 8. How many have challenged in Italy?
No, but like you've got 6 of those teams. Oh, in Italy, there's quite a lot. So you've got Udinese 4 or 5 years ago. You've got Roma, who should be in the big team anyway. We're
talking challenge for the title. Haven't Juventus won it 9 years in a row?
Yeah. Juventus, the behemoth, because they have the massive Champions League advantage every year. always they happen to be good the year the Champions League created.
I know. So you're not answering my question.
The winners of all the big 6 leagues when the Champions League were founded, the winners of their league that year are the dominant team in their league now, 25 years later.
What I'm saying is, it's only going to get worse. Is that what we want? Don't we want to bring it back a little and provide more competition?
How?
Across the domestic leagues.
How's that going to occur? That's not what people are arguing for. This is like a Brexit argument for the 70s.
But you're not answering my question at all. You're saying, well, it's fine. Just let
it already exists, is what I'm saying. It's not changing.
I know, but this is going to make it worse. Is that a good thing?
No, my point is it's not making it worse. It already exists this way.
Right, so it's not going to get worse.
It's the same.
I'm making it more exclusive.
How is it more exclusive? It's
because the same. You can't get relegated from it. Liverpool.
But there's only one team in the last 20 years has competed. That's already closed. That's already a closed league.
Liverpool didn't play in the Champions League for years because we were shit, and that's how it should be. At the moment, we can just get Hodgson in and play in this Super League, and it doesn't matter. The results don't matter. None of it would matter because there's no consequence for being bad. It's just whoever's got the most money. Bit of luck that year. You get these players. Some good players come through. There's nothing good about that because there's no consequence if you're bad. You always stay there. That's the whole point about sport.
Nah. The whole of the American system works without relegation.
Yeah, but if you're commercially rubbish, you get moved to another city. That's not sport. That's not sport. Of course it is.
It's American sport. It's just not traditional sport in England.
Right. So it's you've completely ignored the sense of community and.
Well, you've never mentioned the sense of community till that very
I'm
sentence.
saying that this is crucial, though. This is part of it.
Nobody is getting moved. This
is why I prefer not to be a franchise and to be a football club. We would turn into a franchise. If we do get banned from the Premier League, all our records don't exist anymore because we can't just go back in.
Well, of course all our records still exist.
How?
But they still exist from the Football League when you became the Premier League. They still exist from the European Cup when they became the Champions League.
But if you're never playing in that competition again...
So? We never play in the European Cup ever again. We still got 6.
Exactly, so we'd just be in the same league playing...
We've only got 4, but we like to believe we've got 6.
So we're just in the same league playing the same teams every year, that's it.
But it's the same.
It's not the same. It would be turning it into an NFL style where it doesn't matter, you're just franchising.
So what you're saying is I don't like the American system.
No, what I'm saying is I think the worst parts of the American system is the fact that it's a commercial franchise-driven performance, not sporting success.
It's just the opposite. The parity in American sports is so much greater than there is in England, in Europe.
Of course, I was saying this to Lubo. There's lots to learn from US sports, but ultimately, it's driven by the commercial nature of clubs, and clubs can move.
It's absolutely not. Stop talking about them moving. Nobody's bloody moving. Nobody's discussing moving. It's such a stupid, reductive argument that Liverpool might move to Norwich.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what a franchise system is.
No, it's not. It doesn't happen. The problem, like you're talking about commercial success, right? The Yankees have by far the biggest commercial success in American sports, along with the Dallas Cowboys. How many Super Bowls and World Series have those two won in the last 20 years? 1.
Yeah.
It's not driven by commercial success. Last season, the best team in the American League is Tampa Bay. They have the second lowest salary and the second lowest amount of financial success as would be seen across any of the sports, and they're uber successful. The American sports have more teams competing at the highest level than any league in football.
Do you think Arsenal, when they get into the Super League, if they were getting 10,000 through the stadium, through the gates, and they weren't selling any shirts, do you think they'd still be allowed to get in it, or would you think they'd be replaced?
They're not in the Super League unless they have this long vaunted history of being one of the big teams in the world. So all we're doing is we're aggregating all of the big teams in the world to play in the best stage on an even playing field. So we don't always have Real Madrid or Bayern Munich winning the Champions League every year. That's what it's about. Or the only way that those two get supplanted is by oil money. And what they're doing is, the idea is to create 20 teams that get basically equal funding, and then you can compete.
Just Bayern and Real win the Champions League. Is it just them two?
So we got 13 and 7 between them.
All right, so you're including European Cups? I was just wondering about the Champions League.
I'm the one that's saying that all of these records count. You're saying that each record will be expunged as soon as a competition changes.
No, because we're still in them. And
we're not in them. It changed completely.
We're not. What are you talking about? We're still in the Premier League. We're still in the Champions League.
But we only have one Premier League title.
Yeah, we do.
So I don't understand what you're arguing about then.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean. I was talking about, which you didn't answer. What if one of the teams in the new proposed Super League doesn't meet up to the commercial demands? What if they're not popular anymore? Because it seems like the only reason why these teams are the biggest, the most popular teams. It's not to do with how good they are, is it, Si?
Why would it happen?
This isn't the 12 best teams in Europe, is it?
No, of course it's not.
Okay. So
but these are the 12 best teams in Europe for the last 30 years.
Right. Is it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So
I bet all of the big teams in Europe have been in.
You just mentioned Real Madrid and Bayern are the only ones that you just mentioned Real Madrid and Bayern are the only ones that win it, and Bayern aren't even in the 12.
They're making a political choice, but as if they've not been
Spurs,
as if they're not part of this discussion. They chose not to go in it, but they were selected for it.
So
Ajax, PSV, without a shadow of a doubt, they've been talked about going in this competition. And like from the 90s, that Ajax were one of the leaders of doing a Super League.
I know, but as it stands, with the context of the 12 teams picked, they're not the 12 best teams in Europe.
No, just probably the most 12 famous that will join the league.
Well, there's 2 German teams, yeah,
but they chose not to.
Again, so it's not going to be the best teams that PSG chose not to.
I'd never said it was the best teams. So you're arguing. So now we're arguing the merit of.
No, you're still not answering the question. No, I'm saying
what's the question?
Well, listen. I said what happens when one of the teams, because it's just based on popularity, not success in the last 20 years. I argue.
What you're saying is what happens when the commercial success drops from Arsenal.
What happens when
it hasn't happened? Why would it happen?
It could be any team.
But why would it happen? If we've got this new fabulous product.
Because people are watching it going, this is boring, we're coming bottom every year.
But it won't be boring because they've got the best footballers on the planet. And these 20 teams will have the best footballers on the planet.
So you think it's going to be a wonderful utopia of the best football ever played, completely and utterly competitive on an even playing field with absolutely no downsides.
I never said there's no downsides.
I'm trying to get them out of you, but you're just not answering it.
The downside, honestly, I don't see a great deal of difference from what already exists, apart from the oil advantage.
But every time I say a downside, you say that's not going to happen, though.
Well, tell me what the downside you're talking about commercial success. I don't understand how a team that's moving to a more glamorous competition gets less famous.
I'm not on about less famous. So you don't think any of the teams are going to struggle commercially whatsoever?
No, I don't. Not at all.
Okay.
And they're commercially sharing the cash, which is the whole point.
So then, what do you think is potentially negative about it? Because you seem to be the PR.
What do I think that is bad about it?
Yeah.
What do I think is bad about it?
Yeah.
So principally, I wish none of this stuff existed, but we are 30 years removed from being even any way close to what my principal values are of this. I just see we've gone down this maelstrom of cash, of getting more cash, of creating giant clubs and closing competition for 30 years. I at least want it to be fair to those clubs. And I'm fortunate enough to support one of those clubs. If I supported Derby County, actually, if I supported Derby County, I wouldn't care because it's not been competitive for me for 20 years anyway. I think the only clubs that can really complain about this are like maybe Everton and Leicester, maybe. But even then, probably not. Because no, I really don't even think that. Honestly, I don't know what it is. The downside to, I think this is an improved version of the thing we have. I don't really think the thing we have is optimal, but this is a much better version of the thing we have and we've had for 25 years.
Yeah, the detail and the structure of the matches and the leagues and the format of the competition, absolutely. But you still haven't given me any potential negatives of this proposal, of this Super League.
I think this is better than what we already have.
I know. So you still haven't said anything bad about it. What I'm saying, there's nothing. You just seem to think this is a much better thing. And not only that, you don't seem to think there's going to be any consequences from UEFA. So you do think that Liverpool are going to still exist in the Premier League because of their commercial draw, because they're the ones that the broadcasters pay to see, which is fair enough. But it's like saying none of the other teams in the English football pyramid are important. We're just moving on to another division now.
So what you're saying is, how much do I care of whether Halifax survive?
No, not at all. But the beauty of Bournemouth coming up 4 divisions and then they start being worse organised and spending too much money. There were consequences, but they were rewarded for their well-run club. There's teams now. You know, Leicester. They can
still go the 4 leagues.
Teams have come up,
get in the Super League, and they can't get in the Champions League.
Stick with the manager, go back down, come up again. They're getting rewarded for the things that they've done like we did, over a consistent period, being well run, employing the best people that they can afford, getting the players, having a tactical structure, the strength and condition, everything behind the scenes, going into the detail. Teams, we have been rewarded for that. Other teams have been rewarded compared to the other teams in their league. And all that is the rich tapestry of football. It is a slightly romantic, but it's also absolutely objective. If you run your club well, you're going to be rewarded. And there is that.
It's not true. It's not true. Absolutely.
At the moment,
not true.
If this happens, then that's gone.
It's not true, Dan. It's just not true. It stopped being true 20 years ago.
There's no point in getting to the Premier League because, like you said,
many clubs in the league run better than 10%.
Arsenal.
There are no clubs better in the league run better than Arsenal. And they don't win anything.
So they'll become worse and worse off. There won't be the interest of firms to get involved in the Premier League because they won't be playing Man United every season. So all the other domestic leagues in Europe would absolutely go down a rabbit hole of commercial negativity.
You're only saying this if they get kicked out of the domestic leagues.
But I don't see how you can marry this proposal, the details of the format I like, but this proposal where you're taking it and you're removing the jeopardy of...
Here's the idea. Let's get rid of UEFA.
I don't see how you can marry that with what UEFA are saying. It seems
let's get rid of UEFA.
You've got 2 massive organisations here coming together, and that's why I can't predict what's going to happen. I say the likelihood is what you say, that they'll just have more power next season in the Champions League, and it might be all of this for nothing. But I just think there is something about teams having an opportunity to grow and then get money for it when they get to the Premier League. That's the reward. And then they could stay there for a few years like Bournemouth did. Of course, Bournemouth aren't going to win the league. But Bournemouth fans who are watching it in League Two now have those Premier League memories. And that matters. But it doesn't matter if you're not playing anyone, if there's another 6 teams in Europe that are better than you, because when you win the Premier League without them, kind of takes the edge off it. Although I'm seeing lots of fans of other teams. Fuck them. I don't care. So maybe not.
We had many a discussion early last year, who cared about Liverpool. Nobody. And now you're expecting me to care about them. But it's not even about that. I think the best outcome in this is the Super League exists and UEFA collapses because they're a fucking shit show and they deserve it. And then we keep the Premier League as it is, which is fine. And all of the stuff you've highlighted as being negative is the same. So in conclusion, fuck UEFA. Harinder, the answer. Why would the ESL be so? Is that UEFA have shown over 50 years they are the second most corrupt organisation on earth, and there is no equity or equality within their competition. There's no level playing field, and the league structure is predicated on the level playing field of the ESL. Well, Gags, what have you got to say?
Do you want me to join in? I am actually on a poll.
Right. Okay.
No, it's all right. It's a real tough one. I get all the things you're saying, but there is a little bit to it. I think some of the points that they're raising in the chat here about, it means the top 4 race and people getting into the Champions League qualifying spots, in the league, that's all going to be gone. There'll be nothing. It's just a winner and that's it. And that's modern football, isn't it? That's what's been brought on by modern football. You said you're giving 1984, but 1984 was in 1984 and no one remembers it apart from us old fuckers, right? But the people that are watching football now, it's a massive change for everybody who's watching football now, and it means that, that interest, that's what it's been built for, really. This type of Champions League stuff has built interest that the season keeps going because there's other teams fighting for other things and other European spots. So it makes it interesting for those clubs that are going into Europa, for example, as well. I think those competitions 100% die if the Super League comes into fruition. I think, obviously, the Premier League is siding with UEFA, but then if they want to ban the football clubs, the Premier League dies. So this is a massive power play from the 6 clubs in England. 100%. This is a massive power play to say all those times you've overruled us in the last few years in the Premier League, whenever we wanted something or whether we decided to push for something, we want that power. And whether that's right or wrong is all up to what you decide. At the end of the day, who brings in the money for the Premier League? Is it the bottom 14 clubs or is it these 6 clubs that people support and watch around the world? That's not fair. Obviously, it's not fair. And it's proper, elitist. That's the problem. The biggest issue with this is it's going to become elitist. That's what's going to happen. And that's what I can see happening. I don't think that it's... I just don't think that the Premier League can afford to lose these 6 teams. I just don't. I think the league dies. I think English football then dies if that happens. So this is the thing. It's literally putting people in corners and backed into corners. And what are they going to do? Are they going to kill their business? No chance. No chance the Premier League kills its business. No chance Sky, will pay those fees without those 6 clubs. If Gary Neville wants to be out of a job, then he's going about it the right way, because if he wants them banned, the first person that's going to get shut down is Sky, and he's not going to have a job. He can go to Salford and flip and do whatever he wants with them, but he's not going to be on TV covering football because the CL will be fucked, the Premier League will be fucked, and the only thing there will be is the Super League, and no one's hiring him there because he spoke so much shit about it. So, yeah, I think it's a massive power play. Something will happen. They will get convinced to go back and, sign up again next season to the ECA and all that, and they'll have more power, or they'll get a bigger pot of a bigger piece of the pie from UEFA. this isn't actually against the Premier League. I think people need to focus that this is a fuck UEFA thing from the clubs. I don't think they have an issue.
To be fucked.
Pardon? Yeah. This isn't. I don't think they're fighting against
heinous organisation.
They're not. They're not. What needs to be clear is that the clubs are not fighting against the Premier League in any way in this. They are pissing on UEFA. What it does do, though, is affect the Premier League in terms of what people have already said. You know, those top 4 places, the differences. But 99% of the time, yes, it is those 6 clubs in those top 4 places. But that 1%, yeah, you lose out. And you lose out on the.
Can I ask you both a question? Right. Dan's back on, right? Dan, you back on?
Yeah.
Ask you both a question, right? The fan outrage from Liverpool fans is because...
Is because?
That's the question.
Oh, the fan outrage. Because of greed. It's greed? It's greed, isn't it? 300 million, that's what's turning your eyes to go there, right? 300 million a season to be in this league that has no relegation, and you're just there and you're earning 300 million. And
so
it's the same 15.
Don't you want to win stuff as a Liverpool fan?
Say that again. You want to win stuff? Yeah, we want to win stuff. But is it competition then, Si?
Well, I figure that the 20-team league is competition in itself, and you get a bigger advantage over winning the Champions League, the Premier League, because you've got all this extra money from being in this Super League. So there seems to be, I don't know what you guys think, that some kind of moral thing, that judgment people are making, abusing fans, and I don't understand the abuse of fans by creating a Super League instead of the Champions League.
But it's all on the predication that we're still going to be in the Premier League. I think if that's the case, then you've got the Premier League matches, so 20 games in Europe. I guess it's just the increased cost, but yeah, I don't think that you can argue that, because it's not much different to now in terms of what is it, an extra 5 games, maybe 6 games a season. It just gives more people more opportunity to go to European games, if anything, with the demand for Premier League tickets. But again, I think it's all the crux will be how they react, whether the Premier League say, no, we don't want you here. They have come out against it, by the way. Now, obviously, 14 of them haven't. I mean, 6 of them haven't, but the statement they put out says it condemns any proposal that attacks the open competition.
To start with, the Premier League thought, or at least a lot of fans thought, that this was in place of the Premier League as well. So I'm not sure a lot of people understand that this is a European competition only thing, and that the plan is to stay in the Premier League from those clubs.
Of course, the plan is to stay, but then I think people reacted that all the organisations that currently run football in Europe came out and said, you're going to be banned.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's the bit.
It's just whether we take them on their word.
Oh yeah, it's not whether we take them on their word. It's whether they actually stand by their word. Because if they do, they're killing their own. That's what I'm saying. I said it earlier when you lot were talking. When Si laughed at the threats, because he was laughing because they felt like empty threats. Are you really going to shoot yourself in the mouth? I don't think they are. Or in the ass. They're not going to do it. They're just not.
If we know anything about these people, they like money. They like their power. If you've been involved in the Premier League or in the FA, the underpinning quality of those dickheads, they love their power.
So what do you think the likelihood is? Let's get a figure on UEFA imposing these suggested bans if, as stated, the European Super League starts in August. You think it's less than 5%?
I think it's less than 1% the Super League starts in August.
Okay. Gags, similar?
Sorry, stop listening then. What's the question?
What do you think what chances do you think UEFA or the Premier League, FIFA are gonna ban the clubs that are gonna?
I think UEFA are
if
gonna,
it starts in August. Chances.
I think UEFA are 100% going to fight them. I think it's the Premier League that that will in the end decide, well, we can't have these 6 leave. We can't have, because look, if they leave to the Super League, right, UEFA's fucked anyway, right? No matter what happens, the Premier League have a decision here to say, you know what, we're coming out of ECA as well, and we don't have to follow your rules no more, mate, because we're the Premier League. And so that means we keep our 20-team league, and we keep our broadcast rights, and we keep all our money. But yeah, none of our teams are now going there. We'll link up with the Super League now, and maybe Super League 2. For the second string, who knows? But my point is, this is going to be really interesting in the Premier League's hands, because are you really going to kill, your own league for this? Are you? They made a power play. This is what the whole point was. This is putting the ball in UEFA and Premier League's court. UEFA, are you going to shift those fees? Are you going to move some more money our way instead of pocketing it yourselves? Are you going to give the clubs that really why you get all that money, start getting that money, a little bit more of it? And then the same to the Premier League, are you going to really kick us out when, you're nothing without us? And yes, it's elitist, but those are the questions that are going to be asked by these clubs. No. And that's what this move does. And that's what it is. And it's I personally think that's what it's about. It's about a political game. Whether it's right or wrong, that we all got our views. This is, I think, what they're doing.
Does it change your opinion then if UEFA do ban them and Liverpool cease to exist from the English domestic system and these 12 clubs split off and allow whatever?
I'll be gutted. I'll be gutted.
So would it change your opinion then? Would you still want, if that's got the case, would you still want that sort of no more Merseyside derbies or anything?
I haven't once said whether this is a good or bad thing, because nothing has happened just yet. It's an empty threat at the moment. It's a threat at the moment. And when it happened, I mean, personally, I would want Liverpool to be in the Premier League. Whether they're in Europe with the Champions League or whether they're in this Super League, I don't mind. I don't care about that side of things. We'll go whichever way the money is. But the bread and butter is the league. We need to be in the Premier League. That's where I would want us to be. And yeah, that's the question. And I would be upset, if we were banned from the Premier League and we were just in the European Super League. It wouldn't feel the same. Of course it wouldn't. How would it the week to week, like you said, the derbies, the history, it wouldn't be there. So I would be upset about that, absolutely. And there's a threat of that. So, but the logical mind, the logical thinking person would say, would the Premier League really go ahead with the ban? No fucking way.
I don't think so either, but
exactly. So
that what I'm trying to answer is Si's question. It's Si's question about the fans. Yeah, you
got to think about it logically. It's not going to happen, man. What's the point of being? What's the faux outrage? Why should I show outrage over something that's not going to happen? Mate, people are fucking dying. Have you seen the state of the India at the moment in terms of corona? There's family members that are in distress. You think I'm going to be upset about UEFA? Fuck UEFA! I've got middle fingers up right now. Fuck UEFA. As long as Liverpool are in the Premier, Liverpool in the Premier League, I'll be happy. That's the main thing. You know what I mean? So, like I said, there's bigger worries. I'm not gonna get outraged over football and rich people doing rich things. Literally, that's how the world works. You want to be outraged about something, Boris Johnson throwing his hat that he's not going to make this happen. Fuck you, you fucking elitist twat. You're giving billions of pounds to your mates for contracts. Who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? That's what I'd be outraged about. Prime Minister being a dick.
I know, but I'm not listening.
Prime Minister is a dick. Fuck Keir Starmer for finally getting a voice.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know what? That's the things. I'm not outraged at all. I'm really, really fascinated by what's going to happen. Bargy contacted me last night and he says, I'm just worried. Why are you so quiet about this? Literally, I've been working stupid hours. I did an 11-hour shift on Saturday and I was just watching IPL all day yesterday. I was out. And when he contacted me, I thought, you know what? I better tweet about this. But then I couldn't sleep, because I was just involved in reading so much about it. It's piqued my interest again. And so it's fascinating about what's going to happen. I'm really enjoying the fucking drama. I'll be honest with you, and it's brilliant to see. But I honestly think it's a whole load of empty threats from a whole load of rich people. Personally,
that's the conclusion we're going with. Si,
no, that's my conclusion.
No, I think Si, that's what Si was saying as well.
All right.
We don't think the threat's going to happen. We do think there might be a Super League. Do we think that's going ahead then?
No, I don't think any of this is going to happen. I think it's a power play. I think that a whole bunch of sanctimonious fans are being twats, and it's
no need for that, mate.
By Gary Neville and fucking Carrot, and fuck off with your fucking whatever matters to bloody fans garbage. It doesn't change anything. And no City fans stop supporting City because they got oil money they just won shit. That's all it is. You get money, you win shit. In 5 years' time, when we've won 5 league titles in a row because we had more money than Leicester, we'll be happy. We just pretend. It's just bullshit. All of it is bullshit.
Well, I completely agree with that, because for the Premier League to absolutely come back and say that they care about the fans is an absolute joke, considering the way they've done kick-off times, organised fixtures, increased prices. And then if you go to UEFA, it's even worse at European level, because when Liverpool were in the Europa League final against the last one, I think we got 15,000 fans or something. It was something like 20% of the gate, which is scandalous. So you can't say, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Hypocritical. You can't say, oh, we're all for the fans now when you've been absolutely fleecing them for 20 years. It is hypocritical, but I don't want more of that.
No, it's gonna. But Rhodesy, it's gonna continue no matter what. Fans are gonna get fleeced no matter what happens, whether it's a Super League, Champions League, Premier League. This is the way it's going. Si was talking about. You were talking about commercial side of things. It's just the way football's going. We all know that, and no matter how much we try to stop it, it's not going to happen. Everything goes towards it. Maybe the Super League with 300 million means some costs can go down to fans. Who knows? Because it's a lot of money. Who knows? There might be some positives that come out of it. But remember, as long as we're in the Premier League, I don't have an issue with moving to it. I honestly don't. As long as we're in the Premier League, because that's the bread and butter. And that's what we really enjoy, and we really, we've just won one as well. It's, something that we've been craving for so long. We want to win another one. We want to go and dominate. Champions Leagues, yeah, we've done it. But if UEFA are going to be bastards about it, let's try something different. It's happened before. The Premier League itself condemning it when they fucked on the Football League is
absolutely
is the highest level of hypocrisy you're ever going to see ever. And that's the first thing I said. Wait up, why are you pissing on it? And the likes of Neville and stuff. It's just a big joke. They're just a big joke. Honestly, the way they're talking about it. So it's faux outrage. That's the problem.
But and if there is, if there's 12 to come in and also get 300 million each, that's going to be massive for their clubs as well. That's going to benefit them hugely. And I'm guessing those 8 hopefully would be able to come in through.
They're desperate.
Sporting qualification.
Dude, they're desperate for it. If the German clubs come in as well, they don't get the broadcast rights. They all say it's unfair at the moment because the Premier League pays the highest broadcast winnings. The other domestic leagues don't pay that much, right? And I know Real and Barca have some kind of their own rights, so they get loads, but they still say it's not as much as the Premier League. So those guys getting that, they're all right, level playing field now.
It's one of the consequences possibly that I think someone mentioned it earlier in the chat, that this is kind of a power play also from clubs to get their own broadcasting deal, so have control over that.
Absolutely. The long-term goal, from my point of view, when I saw this happening, was I want my own television broadcast rights. Every club wants to air it on their own website or outsource it to Netflix for fucking billions. That's what they want.
I honestly don't think that's what the Super League is about.
No, not the Super League. But in the long run, if the Premier League starts, the Premier League owns the rights, right? If the Premier League do say get lost, just say they do. What do you think is going to happen? There's going to be an English Super League where they get their own rights and they sell them. Yeah. People are going to watch. People, I don't care what you say.
They're honestly never going to do this, right? Can I add one caveat to this? Is that there's the whole Bayern, Dortmund, PSG they said no. Have you asked yourself for a second why they didn't say no? Why they said no?
Well, yeah, there's lots of reasons. I mentioned the fact PSG's owners runs UEFA.
Do you think there's any even more spurious reason behind this?
Go on.
They asked Dortmund and Bayern from the Bundesliga, two teams that have massive financial advantage over everybody else already. They asked PSG, and so what we know is they asked PSG from people we're complaining about not being in there, right? Thing is, they didn't just ask those three teams. If those teams were coming in, they were coming in with other teams from their league. So they'd be watering down their financial advantage they already have over their domestic competition if they join this league.
It's a game theory point, I guess, with Red Bull Leipzig. Do you think they would want to come in?
Of course they would, but there are other big teams in Germany. There are other huge teams in France.
Yeah.
Lyon and Monaco would no chance. Lyon, Monaco, Marseille would. But the entry requirement would have been predicated on PSG had to come. And without PSG are like, oh, no, I'm not giving up our massive financial advantage over these other teams. Bayern are like, yeah, no, we can hide behind People's Club bullshit. I don't believe rich people.
No, same. Cheers, Si. Anyway, this has been fun, and I think at the moment it seems like we all agree that it's kind of like a power play from the 12 most influential clubs against UEFA because they think UEFA have come out with absolute joke proposals today. So it's the timing, that's why it's come out. Because UEFA needed to sign these off today. So we shall see. Thanks for your time, mate.
It's always good to chat, boys.
It is. And thanks for Gags popping in there. And I'll speak to you with Brundish after the Leeds game for UP. Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.